There is a huge irony in me being up here on the Myers-Briggs introversion-extroversion scale. I am so far over on the introversion side that the distance between me and the other side is measured in light years. So this morning, we've heard about polio, we've heard about racism, we heard about difficult times, and see, this is proof that I'm an introvert. I'm a writer, not a speaker, so you'll have to forgive my notes. I want to talk to you about one other scary subject, and that is poetry. I know you're laughing, but people today are afraid of poetry. Not afraid in the same way that they're afraid of zombies or werewolves or Donald Trump. More in the way that they're afraid of strangers or the dark or failure, things that they don't understand. As a teacher, I hear it from students, I hear it from parents, I even hear it from other teachers who refuse to teach poetry. As a poet, I hear it from everyone once they discover that I write poetry. I don't get poetry, they say. It confuses me. Why doesn't the poet just tell me what he means? And the fear is understandable. People fear what they don't understand. And people are afraid that they don't understand poetry. And they're further afraid that if they don't understand a poem, it will somehow make them look bad. That's because somewhere, someone once said to them, no, that's not what the poem means. Instead of yes, it means that, and could mean much more as well. From that sort of experience, people have concluded that poetry is written by uncommon people in uncommon words, arranged in uncommon ways. But poets, with a few exceptions, are just like you and me. And the stuff of poetry is as common as rain, or as wheelbarrows, a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater, beside the white chickens. That commonly overinterpreted poem by William Carlos Williams is clearly about the importance of a red wheelbarrow and doesn't have to be about anything else. Anyone who has owned land or worked on land or done any sort of outside labor can attest to just how much does depend upon wheelbarrows. But neither does the poem have to be limited to that. It can also be about the importance of details, the importance of things we take for granted, of tools, of work, the importance of relationships, the importance of depending upon someone or something else. The truth is that what is uncommon about poetry is not the poet, the language, the subject matter, but the understanding and the vision that it involves. As Williams' wheelbarrow suggests, poetry helps us see uncommon value and uncommon things. In this poem by E.E. Cummings, one of my favorites ever, helps us see the value of a spring day. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and wings and of the gay, great, happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any lifted from the no of all nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, now the eyes of my eyes are opened. In this one, by one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, there we go, helps us value things as insignificant as summer days, as grasshoppers, and as paying attention, which I think is the ultimate message of all poetry. the summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Poetry also helps us understand the significance of what goes on around us. It helps us find uncommon meaning in common experiences, as in this poem by Ezra Pound, written shortly after World War I, and one that captures, in a single comparison, the everyday anxiety of people in post-World War I Europe in a station of the metro. The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. Philosopher Edwin Honing suggests that poetry is vital to remembering and understanding the emotional realities, the humanity of our daily lives and experiences. He states, "The poet's voice is needed now more than ever before, that voice which celebrates the difficult, joyous, imaginative process by which the individual discovers and enacts selfhood." This poem, written in my 30s, helped me understand that I had overcome the poverty and abuse of my childhood and was ready to become a father and to claim the right to my own joyous life. It, in a sense, combines those two critical components of my childhood, the abuse and the poverty, and shows that I had grown beyond both of them. And that's why it's divided into two parts. Foundings. 1. The first time my stepson cried, without his mother's hands to brush the pain away, I came to him quickly, without thinking. I touched him with almost a space between my flesh and his, the way a woman aging and overweight steps off a curb as if the path beneath her might not be real. And then he leaned into me, and my whole body changed into something I had not known existed. And what was once no part of me began to keep the ticking of our two wrists as one. 2. Every boy, too skinny, with a buzz cut and cheap worn-out shoes, with clothes clearly not bought but handed down, cautious and curious, hands keeping the safe distance of looking at everything, reminds me of the self I was and can never cease to be. Every time I see that unchanging shadow, I want to go up to him and shake him by the shoulders and say, "Boy, don't believe them. None of this should be feared. You have a right to everything." And this one, written in my early 40s, recalls a childhood struggle to be and pairs it with a similar struggle as an adult, bridging the gap of time and helping me understand the importance of beginnings and of never giving up. Acts of defiance. Just a boy, not yet 8, and knowing nothing of the world, I simply did as I was told and reached my hands, my forearms, long and thin, even up to the elbows, into the bloody back end of a moaning cow, to grasp what I felt there and pull. and pull harder when it wouldn't come until something appeared, and pull harder still until something became a wet mess of calf spilling into my lap, and my uncles laughing, and my grandfather, his hand on my shoulder, looking at me hard, eyes full of seriousness, saying, "Good job, good job." A lifetime later, at 41, holding you, I finally understand the weight of it all. I look at your mother, spent in bed, and say, "Good job." And then into your own uncomprehending, just-born eyes and say again, "Good job." And just as a little side note to show you the different ways that people can interpret poetry, when I wrote that, I really was kind of proud of the fact that I had written what I thought was a sweet love poem for my wife and my daughter. My wife heard it and said, "So you're comparing me to a cow?" And I'll end with this poem written just a couple of years ago, which helped me understand my truest, deepest, and longest-lasting ambitions in life. Used. I want to be used up by life, all resources expended, all reserves exhausted, thistle picked clean, river run dry. I want to work to the last minute at making and giving and take nothing with me. After my last breath, if there is anything left unused, I'll feel I failed and will only be saved by those who need what I have, coming to carry it away. So uncommon value from common things, uncommon understanding from common experience, uncommon perspective, uncommon vision. That's what poetry does for me and why I feel it should be fostered, not feared. Thank you all.